Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the AI Spy. I'm your host Anurag, and I have a very interesting topic that I want to discuss today. Recently, if you've heard, there's been a very large data breach. Many are calling it as the mother of all data breaches, just given the magnitude of data that was discovered as part of this data breach. So joining me today is Francis West. He's the CEO of Security Everywhere and a distinguished cybersecurity expert. Francis, thank you for joining me and discussing about the data breaches.
An absolute pleasure, and thank you very much for the opportunity to having me on your call today. Because as you know, my team's mission is to protect 1 million businesses from cybercrime. And I know that every time I do a session like this or talk on whether it's radio, TV, or podcast, we're helping many more businesses out there get the right information to be better protected. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to doing the session with you today.
No, great to have you on. So before we go into some of the questions I have and the mission statement that you have, I want to get more into that, how you go about protecting those businesses. I want to talk about the origin story. I always use this phrase that every great superhero has a great origin story. So I want to hear about you and your journey through the years to where you are now today with Security Everywhere.
Well, I thought you were never going to ask. Yeah, I tell you, I think you're right. Everybody has a story to tell as to why. What is their why? I don't know if you read the book from Simon Sinek. Have you read that book?
I've heard of it. I haven't. No.
You must read it. It's very good. So I've been in the IT industry for over 33 years, and I built up my first business. And sadly, I got involved with the wrong people, investor. And I'll give you the easy version. I came off second best. And sadly, I lost the business and I had to start again from zero. And the way they did it was very clever. They put a keylogger on my computer at the office. And when I logged into my home machine, they then captured the username and password. I mean, this happened back in 2007, 2008. And then they logged into my personal email account. And then they took information that was only privileged to me from my home computer and used it against me to get rid of me from my own business after 18 years of building it up. So it was a really tough time, and I had the police involved, and the police said, "Tough. They said this is a civil matter, not a legal matter." And I could prove to the police at the time that they broke the Computer Misuse Act of 1990 in 12 places, and still the police said, nothing. So I had a bitter experience, where. Always when I talk about attacks or fraud or cyber attacks, there's three elements. One from external, one from maybe staff members that can steal your data and set up business, and then you have investors or fellow directors, that can try and take you out of your own business. But, I learned the hard way. And I think that's why, and also at the moment, on average, I deal with maybe 12 or 15 cases a week, where I'm dealing with business owners, some small, some larger, where, they've lost a lot of money, where they have had to lay off staff, where some of the one lady I just dealt with recently, one case, a building firm where Maria, she's been working in the accounts for 30 years, and they fell for invoice fraud, and they lost, I think, 150,000, and the poor woman took it so personally. She's been off work for 6 months now. All because they didn't have the right security in place. They didn't have any training in place. So the poor woman fell for the scam and paid 150,000 out straight to the. So it's got such a massive impact. And that's why the more I learn about cybersecurity, I just want to help more people. And hence back to my mission again. And my first mission was to educate and protect 1 million people, which I did by last October. Now my new mission is to protect at least 1 million businesses from cybercrime. Because it's devastating when it happens to people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just listening to you and the story about Maria, individuals who work at these businesses and fraudsters are constantly evolving, coming up with new threats. Yeah. Like if I am working at a firm, let's say in an accounting department or in one of the back offices, I do not know all the different ways a fraudster, a criminal might attack me. So the lack of training sometimes. Recently, I read the report where someone used a deepfake AI-generated avatar of a CFO to steal millions of dollars. The poor employee has probably no idea that something like that can happen. So training, as you say, is extremely important. Couldn't agree with you more.
But Anurag, did you know that I'm talking about the UK now only. In the UK, on average, it takes businesses about 237 days to find out that somebody's actually on their systems harvesting and stealing data.
Wow.
Do you know, I joke with people. I say there's three kinds of people on this planet, or companies. Those are going to be hacked, those have already been hacked, and those who have been hacked or do not know they've been hacked. And that's the worst one.
Yeah.
That's the 237 days. So you're right. I mean, people, because again, they're relying on old technology to fix a new problem. It's like relying on flu jab to fix COVID. It doesn't work. So most people use standard antivirus systems that doesn't detect unknown attacks. And every second, there's 4 unknown attacks hitting the planet. And that's why, again, we help people use the right enterprise level systems, even a one user company, to fix the problem. Because if you don't know what the problem is, and this is coming back to your 26 billion record point we're going to make in a minute, if you don't know that your password for LinkedIn was one of those 26 billion records, how would you ever be able to fix a problem? You can't fix a problem you don't know about.
Don't know about. Yeah. So talking about the problem now, there have been so many data breaches, and every year we hear about one or the other. Now, what was so I don't want to use the word interesting, but what was so unique about this? Why is it being now called as the mother of all data breaches?
Well, okay, maybe if it's okay, can I share my screen?
Please, yes.
Just so we can put it into context for people that's watching. And I know this goes out on radio as well. So really what I'm doing at the moment, I'm just showing a screen where you can see from a article on the 25th of January this year. It was a Thursday on Mail Online. And the headline was "Huge Data Leak Dubbed the Mother of All Breaches Sees 26 billion records leaked from sites including Twitter, LinkedIn, Dropbox," and there's a long list, and I've got the list. So your problem there is over time, you know, and I'm going to show the readers in a minute how to actually discover if their data is part of this. But you have multiple leaks, and sometimes these let's call them databases, are repackaged and resold.
Right.
Almost like in the old days. Remember in 2008 when all the subprime mortgages?
Yeah.
If I could compare it to that, they would repackage, resell, repackage. And what's happened here is obviously what they've done is they've taken all these different, what we call data sets, and repackaged them, and obviously found some new ones and sold them as a one package deal. You know, that's the way I see it. But so for me, it's a massive problem. And what I'll do quickly, I'll just move back to, because I do a lot of talks on the subject, as you can imagine. And there's one of my favorite websites is called Information is Beautiful. And I get everybody, even if you're listening, please go to this website, go to Information is Beautiful, and look up data breaches. And the sources are from the New York Times, Forbes, The Guardian, you know, BBC, PCMag, TechCrunch, anyway. So in 2004, sorry, I should have gone full screen. So here you can see, you know, starting back in 2004, you know, AOL, they lost a few million records. Then we moved to 2008, you know, we had the first big ones from CFX and T-Mobile, Deutsche Telekom got done, Heartland lost 130 million records. Then in 2014, I don't know if you remember, eBay lost 140 million records. When I say lost, it means that somebody hacked into eBay or Yahoo or Core Ventures and stole the databases, which now was part of the big leak, and sold them on the dark web for less than 1 penny per record. So if you want to hack anybody, go on the dark web, buy these data sets, and then you've got enough information to start the attacks. And especially now with Anurag, now that AI is kicking in, we're seeing exponential growth in the sector, because obviously they can now automate a lot of these processes, you know. So moving on, you can see here in 2011, if you remember that big breach with Sony, but look at this, 2021, all of a sudden you see the massive increase. So Facebook lost 533 million records, Experian, Brazilian, remember that, 220 million, Canva, which I'll come back to, Facebook, you know, India citizens, 275, Microsoft lost 250 million records. So now we move to, if you have so why is that 26 billion record? How does it affect you? Well, very simply, have you got a LinkedIn account? Have you got a Twitter account? Have you got a Dropbox account? Have you got an Adobe? Have you Canva, MyFitnessPal, MySpace? I bet you any money, Anurag, that most of your readers or listeners will have maybe 4 or 5 of these accounts.
I myself
Now,
have four of the
exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you know? Let me ask you this question. Let me challenge you. How do you know your Adobe username and password is not one of those 26 billion records? Tell me. How would you know?
I would have to assume that it is. I mean, I would not know otherwise.
Well, I'm going to help you in a minute to show you how. But anyway, so the problem is if you are using a separate password for each one of these accounts, for your LinkedIn, your Twitter, your Dropbox, your Adobe, your Canva, not a problem. I say not a problem with a big pinch of salt. If you are using the same password on every single one of those accounts, all they need is one of those accounts, login details, and now and this is where the bots come in. They use bots to log into all these different accounts. How can you stop it? Well, number one, you need to turn on two-factor or multi-factor authentication on every single one of these accounts. That's one. The other way, which I can show you as well, is of course you need to use a tool like a enterprise level a password manager that monitors the dark web. And let me show you as we're on the subject. I'm just going to minimize my screen here. If I open up my password manager for a minute here, you can still see my screen okay?
Of course. Yep.
So I'm just going to log in, and this is for me one of the best password managers on the planet, and this is what we help our clients to implement. It's called Keeper, but the enterprise version of Keeper. Most people don't realize this, but saving your passwords inside a browser is the most unsecure place to store any of your passwords. Why? Because the moment I can send you an email, you click on a link. I've now installed what we call a keylogger on your Mac or your PC, which means I can extract every single password that you've ever saved in Chrome or in Firefox or in Edge, unless you've got it properly protected, which most people don't. But coming back to Breachwatch, so the security aware, that's our company. If you look at my issues here, so I woke up on the 27th of June 2020, only to find out that my current username and password for Airbnb all of a sudden now is for sale on the dark web, which means I can then take action immediately. So I was able to go to Airbnb, Keeper popped up, it says, would you like me to change your password? And I tell you what, the password that I've got on here, just out of interest sake, I've got a brilliant website which I like to share with people. And it's called www.security.org/how secure is my password. If you go in there and you paste a password, you'll see my new password for Airbnb will take 42 quintillion years to crack. Now, Anurag, I've got really bad news for you. Both of us are going to be dead by then.
Yeah.
Okay. But my point is, this is how you generate a really good password. Now, coming back to the other point I was going to show you, how could people know whether their password is part of that the 27 billion? Very easily. If you go to a website called haveibeenpawned.com, so ladies and gents, if you are watching or listening to this, go to a website called haveibeenpawned, pwned.com, and then you can put in your email address. So if I put in my email address, let me put in Francis at .w@security-everywhere.com. Let's check that one out. So you can see I've already had one breach, and this is about 4 or 5 years old. And look at this, LinkedIn. There you go. LinkedIn lost in 2023 in November, was scraped, and my data is now for sale on the dark web for LinkedIn. So let me choose another one. Let me give you an older email account. And if I go to Francis at Westec, that's our IT company. Now there you can see I've had 13 breaches. This email account is 14 years old. Look again. See? LinkedIn scrape, fake data 2023. Look, Apollo, City Day, Cove, Dropbox, Gravatar, Nitro. So all these companies have lost your data. It's not your fault, but it's your fault if, one, you're using the same password for all these accounts. It's your fault if you didn't turn on two-factor authentication. That's why, I deal with so many cases where Facebook has been hacked, LinkedIn has been hacked. What's it called? What's the other one? Twitter and Instagram and, all these social media. Fix this problem by turning on two-factor authentication. It's so easy to fix, but most people don't do it. It's too busy, do this, do that, But anyway, I'm home.
So in defense of some of those people, sometimes even me, even though I work in fraud prevention, I would hesitate.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this on a public podcast because I'm going to go and set up two-factor on all my accounts. But sometimes in the past, I've hesitated because sometimes it's annoying. Oh, you're trying to log into your LinkedIn and it's say, now you got a text or go and authenticate. It is a little bit annoying. And just for that little bit of convenience or to save 30 seconds or avoid those 30 seconds of work or maybe 5 seconds of work, individuals will avoid setting up two-factor authentication.
But now let me counter argue with you, right? Watch this. Let me find my LinkedIn account. Look at this. So there's my LinkedIn profile. There's my username. There's my password. And there's my two-factor authentication code that only lasts for 30 seconds.
Mm.
So you can save, and this is why our password manager that we recommend, which is the enterprise version of Keeper, also stores your two-factor authentication codes. So Anurag, you've got no excuse, I'm sorry. So once you set this up once, it puts in your username, puts in your password, and puts in your 2FA code. Do you honestly want to tell me? And now, so if I want to go to LinkedIn, watch this. So all I have to remember is how to spell. You see how it comes up, LinkedIn?
Yep.
If I press the arrow, look, my hands are away from the computer. Not only, it does it very quickly. It's just log me in and put the codes in all very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So for me, it's time saving. It's keeping you secure. It's alerting you when there's a problem. Then you don't have to worry about the 26 billion records because you've got the right system. And I always say to people, why do we live longer? We live longer because of early detection. Would you agree?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Cybersecurity works on the same principle. So if you have the right systems in place that can either, number one, prevent, which is better, or detect when it's after the event, and then you can fix it, then you've got nothing to worry about. But most people don't have the systems in place, and that's why they suffer, which is a shame. It makes me sad.
So, Francis, I have two questions in mind, and let's go one after the other. The first thing is the data is available on the dark web for pennies per record. So I know that bad actors have my data, but are certain sectors like the banking, the e-commerce sectors more affected than social media? Like if there's a fraudster, they're not trying to get into my LinkedIn account. They're trying to get into my bank account, maybe, I would assume. So are some sectors...
But it's part of the whole social engineering process. To get into your bank account, they need to know who you are. They need to know what your cat's name is. They need to know that you have... like there's a company down the road here, you won't believe it, they're called Ken Brushes. They've just lost 1.6 million in 20 minutes. And one of the biggest reasons why they got done is because they were missing DMARC and DKIM records. So my point is that if you don't even have your default email security record set up, you're already hiding for nothing. So if I now find your details on the dark web, I can then send you a spoof email, or I can impersonate the MD or the CEO of the business, and I start sending emails as you to your customers saying they've got to pay, sorry, we've changed our banks to Metro Bank or Barclays, please pay this details. We worked with another big, architect firm. They lost 1.4 million in 2 weeks because they got into their zero account, changed the bank details, so all the statements and the invoices went out with the hackers' bank details.
Right.
So you say that LinkedIn for me is probably as important as your email account because there's so much personal information about a person that can be used to generate a picture of that business when you launch your attack.
Got it. So
does it make sense?
It does. So if you're an individual, the takeaway for an individual is not business. It's just for a minute focusing on individuals. It's if you find your data in the breach, if you go to have I been pawned and you see, oh, it's just
Yeah.
it's my LinkedIn, my Facebook accounts that's been hacked. I use a different password for my banking accounts. You're not safe. You still need to go and change those passwords and set up multi-factor authentication on them, because there are ways you can be phished.
Okay. So, but for me, again, just recapping what you said there, is that I like to use analogies, right? Let's say you had the same key for your front door, your back door, for your house, for your
Yeah,
office, for your shed, for your. So if you lose the one key,
yeah,
they can get into all the things. And that's why, by making it more difficult for the hackers, you must remember that also they go after the small businesses now and the one individuals. Why? Because if they can get £10 from you, £10 from you, times 1,000 in one day, they've had a good day.
right,
And I
right.
don't know, I mean, my brother, I've got a great case study of my mother-in-law. She was one click away from losing £8,000. Luckily, she phoned me and I drove to her house. I was there in 8 minutes and I took on the scammers. And as I walked in, they were in a Santander account and I just ripped the power out of the wall and I shut them down. And then I spoke to them and they called me every name under the sun. They wanted to kill me. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
you know. So it's sad because most small businesses, and I serve at the moment on 7 different security panels, including the Home Office, right? And one of the things I'm trying to drive home is for some learning to be done at schools where the kids can then go home and teach the parents, but not only the parents, go and teach the grandparents. Help them set up, individual passwords. Help them to set up two-factor authentication on all their accounts. Even the ones that they don't care about, even the ones they've forgotten about, doesn't matter. If you look at Amazon right now, Amazon's got your payment details.
yeah,
If you look at PayPal, it's got your Barclaycard or whatever card you use.
yeah,
So those are the ones that I always say to people: focus on those accounts first. Anything where you can make a payment, or eBay, go and lock those accounts down first and then do the rest. But go and help your parents and go and help your grandparents, because individuals are so easy to hack compared to companies because there's more of them.
right, right. So, so Francis, you have this mission statement of safeguarding 1 million businesses by 2026. How do you plan to go about it?
Sure. That's a good question. I threw a lot of effort. A lot of effort. So we do. I mean, just to give you an idea, I like I said, I do a lot of talks. I do a lot of radio. I do podcasts. I love to share people. I send out weekly tips, and again, I'll gladly share the link with you, where your listeners can get free cybersecurity tips every Sunday. We do LinkedIn Live. So we do a LinkedIn Live session the first Thursday of every month between 12 and 1 in that's UK time, and then we also do one the third Thursday of the month, a little bit later in the day. But if you go to LinkedIn, go to Security Everywhere, and look under events, you can see all our past events,
Right.
because anybody can go and watch them back for free. And we've covered, child safety. We've covered mobile security. The next session we're going to talk very much about backups. How backups are so important for businesses and for individuals, of course. So, and it's just through, and thanks to you, like the session today. Hopefully, if 100 or 1,000 people listen to today, I bet you any money they'll be better secure. Because they'll think, this mad South African, I need to follow his advice and just do the basics. It's all about doing the basics, and
Yeah.
then adding other layers after that.
Yeah. So I think as our data is in the digital space, as we live and operate in the digital space, we cannot avoid data breaches. This is going to be there's going to be more data breaches. There is going to be attacks. So what can businesses do to protect themselves?
I thought you were never going to ask. Okay, let me show you. So I can tell you what we do, and then
Yep.
in general.
Yep.
So let me just share. I'll share my screen again. So if you go to our website, which is security-everywhere.com, like I said, one of the organizations in the UK is called the NCSC, the National Cybersecurity Center, and they talk about 5 pillars that any business, whether you 1, 5, 10, 500, doesn't matter your size, you need to do 5 things. You need to do it well. Number 1, you need to protect your computer. And I'm not talking about all the well-known brands that just, like the Norton McAfee's, all those, the things that you've been buying for years and years and years. I'm talking about enterprise level security that can fix or that can detect unknown threats. I'm talking about computer security that will include a ransom guarantee, that includes a 24/7 security operations center. That's what we deliver for our clients, and I'll show you in a minute. Number one. Number two, so if you scroll down, this is what we do for clients now in 14 countries. So you'll see there's me, computer security, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. We even do the implementation for you. Your second layer, and like I said, we offer a ransom guarantee of up to £800,000. So even if you're one user, we'll give you a guarantee up to £800. But in 5 years, we haven't even got close to any of our customers getting even, I've even gone so far to say to my customers, you can click on anything you like. If they can get through our security, we'll pay your ransom. Simple as that. The next level, which I've kind of showed you already, is password security. Because why? The moment you start getting control over your password, apart from saving time, you know when to change your password. People say to me, but I need to change my password every 90 days. I said, why do you waste your time? Do you change your front door key or front door lock on your house every 90 days? He says, no, I don't. I said, why not? I haven't had a break-in. I said, that's interesting. So if you know that your passwords have not been compromised, why would you want to go and change them? So for me, like I said, save time, use a password security that does it all for you anyway. I only remember one password, and that's the long one that I need to log in every morning into my password manager. The third layer, which I think is probably the most important layer, is email security. Why? Because I can tell you this for a fact now, that both Microsoft, I'm talking about 365, and also Google Workspaces, we mainly deal with business email systems, that they're missing between 30 to 40% of all attacks per day. And I've got case study to show you. So what we do is we implement email security. Imagine this like a big bouncer or the US Army. We implement outside or around your emails. So we remove every single attack from your inbox so that the user doesn't have to worry about, should I click on this link? Should I not click on this link? So that's kind of our third layer. So we do all the release requests. So we never expect a user to be, genius when it comes to cybersecurity. And then the fourth layer is backup and recovery, because that's your last line of defense. If by some miracle they manage to get into your system and they start encrypting or they're deleting your stuff, at least we can recover. And we do those 4 core services for £37 a month or $40, or I think it's 44 euros or something. And we will do with any size, whether you're one user, 5, 10, 50, 200, doesn't matter to us. It's all the same. And then, of course, the final one, which we don't do a lot of, is cyber awareness training. And we're just about to launch the next one, which is our mobile security. But to answer your question, if you put in those 4 layers, you instantly reduce your risk by 99+%. And did you hear that story about, when the lion chases you? Have you heard the story?
No.
All you have to do, Anurag, is to outrun the guy behind you.
Oh, yeah, I've heard this one. Yeah.
And the logic applies here, because if hackers are going to come after you and they see that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 layers in place, they're going to go to the next door neighbor. Or they're going to go to another, because I tell you for a fact that 99% of people on this planet right now, sadly, does not have anywhere close to this level of protection in place. And that's why I made it my mission to help people get the right security to get properly protected on a monthly rolling contract. No long-term contracts. And people love it. And then they just can focus on their business. They can sleep like a baby that doesn't need feeding every 4 hours. And, that's it. That's how you fix this problem.
Amazing. Francis, this was really, really helpful. And you shared some strategies and the work that you guys are doing with businesses. But I think there's also a lot that individuals can take away from this. The same layered security approach can apply to individuals. And it's the same if someone tries to get my details, doesn't succeed, goes to the next guy, and you can protect yourself that way. Thank you again today for taking time out. I found this extremely interesting and educational, and I hope my listeners do as well. And I know you have such a busy schedule, so thank you so much for taking time out.
Yeah, a huge pleasure. And please, if I encourage people, go and listen to the old LinkedIn live sessions. I can also I've also uploaded them to YouTube, so you can go and watch them there. I've now got over 100 little videos, training videos that individuals can go and listen to. Especially, I've got kids, and I want people to listen to the last two episodes all around child safety online.
So
I believe that we should, yeah.
I attended
So
the last session,
you did, yeah, you did,
and
yeah,
it was really really good. And I think someone spoke about the importance of teaching children
yeah,
the basics of internet security, and they made the
yeah,
analogy that when we were growing up, our parents taught us when you're playing on the road how you need to be aware of
yeah,
strangers and how to protect yourself. The same applies to our kids who now go and play on the internet.
yeah,
It was a brilliant session, and yes, I will link.
yeah.
I will provide the links in the show notes.
Please, yeah,
Uh,
share with people. So the more we can help people, the better.
Excellent, Francis. Thank you, everyone for listening to another episode of the AI Spy, and we'll be back again with another episode and the A lister. Until then, thank you. I'm host Anurag, and see you again next episode. Bye.
Okay, bye bye.